welcome to the Annex Lab Aesthetics Breakdown. I'm going to go over the next 9 weeks so you know exactly what's expected of you throughout this entire challenge. For our agenda today, I'm going to go over an outline of the program, some rules and reasonings behind those rules, the meal plans and macros portion of it, how to track and exchange foods, cheat meals, a little bit more about the details of the plan, and then anything that you guys may feel along the way. Sometimes when we go from eating whatever we want to eating a little bit more of a strict diet, you're going to feel some discomfort with that. So I'm going to touch on those things there. Then I'll talk about the myths that we may have heard or seen on social media in regards to nutrition. And then I'm going to go over the why of this entire program. Let's get it started with week 1. For your training in week 1, we begin phase 1. Phase 1 is 3 weeks long, same as phase 2 and phase 3. The programming is going to stay the same from week 1 to week 2 to week 3, with some tweaks going into your second phase. The first phase is focused on building a solid strength and muscular metabolic conditioning component, as well as the overall volume is going to be pretty high to acclimate you for the following phases. The reason that the programming stays the same, it not only allows you to get comfortable with the movements, it allows for you to make up any days that you missed from week 1 in week 2, and it also will allow you to build in weight to really see some progress as we move from week to week. For your nutrition in week 1, we're going to start with a training camp. We typically do this at the start of all of our nutrition challenges to ensure that everybody is starting from a general base. Regardless of how you eat, regardless of how strong your nutrition habits are, a training camp really is eye-opening to you to tell us what you're eating, how you are eating, and then the downfalls of the way that your habits have been forming. So in this training camp, I'm going to ask you to track your food in the Annex Lab app. I know that this may be a little bit more clunky than MyFitnessPal or My Macros or something that you guys are a little more accustomed to using, but it will allow me to see every single thing that you're eating and then pull nutrient reports from that food so we can see what vitamins you're lacking in your regular nutrition habits. It will also give me some of the food items that you eat on a typical basis. So when I'm building your meal plan, I can actually put those foods in so it doesn't seem like you're following a diet at all. When we move into week 2, like I said, your training is going to stay the same. We encourage you to make up any days that you missed from week 1. And in your repeated days, we encourage you to build in weight if you're comfortable with the movements. For your nutrition, this is the week that I'm going to start building everybody's meal plans. It is going to take me a little bit of time, so those who scan first in week 1 are going to receive their meal plans first in week 2. As you receive these meal plans, you're more than welcome to use either one to follow. If you want to use them more as a blueprint guide to the way that you should be eating, you can do that as well, but we do recommend that you follow them really strict and really to a T if you want to get the best results. In week 3, this is the last week of phase 1. Time to push the weight, push the intensity, and go hard where you can. For your nutrition, we're going to add in the water component this week. Water is extremely important when you guys are trying to build muscle mass, as well as when you're trying to tighten up your nutrition. This really works to get the proper nutrients into your muscles to grow for protein synthesis, for muscle regeneration. It will also help us utilize our carbs in the best way. If we don't get enough water, this is why carbs make people bloat, is typically because of that water component. For week 4, we start phase 2. We're going to build from that solid foundation that we built in phase 1. We're going to add a little bit of intensity and a couple techniques that I like to use to target some more muscular contraction and enhancement in the hormonal response of the muscle to really speed up some fat loss. For your nutrition, week 4, we are at the midway point. I will be pulling another nutrient report as well as giving you a breakdown of where you've come from week 1 all the way through week 4. In week 5, our training program stays the same as week 4, so we encourage you again, if you missed any training days from week 4, to make sure that you get them in week 5. For your nutrition in week 5, we're going to add the element of sleep. A lot of times people don't get enough sleep. When your diet is perfect, when your training is perfect, if you're not getting sleep to support those two things, our progress is going to slow. Once our body is able to handle cortisol a little bit better, which is our natural stress hormone, we're actually able to lose fat quicker, our metabolism speeds up, and we're able to put on muscle mass a little bit easier. But if we're constantly dealing with cortisol spikes, we're not getting enough sleep to support that, we're going to have a hard time finding success at the end of this challenge. For week 6, this is the last week of phase 2's programming, so we have to make sure that we really push the intensity as we will be moving to a new phase come week 7. For your nutrition, we're going to add a rest week in here. So typically when we do nutrition challenges in the Annex Lab, we stop at week 6 because this is enough time for somebody to learn some new concepts, stomach those concepts, no pun intended, and then build from everything that we are learning. When we're adding in the element of training, we need a little more time to facilitate good muscle growth. That's why our program for the aesthetics plan is 9 weeks long. So for this week, to give you guys a little bit more leniency, I'm gonna have you guys take a rest week. That means putting away the scale, still eating what's on your meal plan, but you don't have to measure anything anymore. You can just simply eyeball it. Taking that time away from the scale is really beneficial to not only our general health, but our mental health as well. You're more than welcome to continue tracking and measuring as planned. This is not a mandatory week, but if you would like, we encourage you guys to do this just to give you a little bit of a break. In week 7, we move into phase 3 for our training. This is where all of the intensity and all of the concentration is going to be placed in your training program. You now know the movements, you know a lot of the techniques that we're going to use in the aesthetics program, but now we're going to add these things called intensity techniques, such as challenge sets, extended sets, internal training, and even training to failure. These types of things are really going to push you to get the best benefit from this program. In your nutrition, this is going to be the home stretch. Coming off that rest week, I really encourage you to be as strict as possible in week 7, trying to follow everything on your meal plan as strictly as you can. In week 8, this is phase 3. Week 2, we're repeating the same process from week 7 and every single week throughout this entire program. In your nutrition, I need you to track every single thing that you're eating for this week. That way we can take this week and compare it to your first week of the program and see how far you've come thus far. In week 9, this is the last and final week. Training, push as hard as you can, go as intense as possible. This is the last week of the training program, so no holding back here. In your nutrition, I want you to scan twice this week, really understanding how our body utilizes water, where we are currently at in our cycle of the month. Those types of things are going to either make you hold water weight or flush water weight. So I want to ensure that you have 2 opportunities to scan, so I can take either of those scans, whichever one has the best results, to compare it to the first scan, so you guys have the best opportunity to win in this challenge. Speaking of winning, anytime there's a prize pot for us, we need to include some rules so we can add some weight to those rules. The first and foremost thing, untracked days. Everybody is allowed 1 untracked day per week. You don't have to take this day. It's completely optional. It's up to you to take, but you are allowed it. If I see that on your food journal, you leave one of those days blank, I'm going to assume that is your untracked day and not necessarily that you just forgot to track that day. Like I said, it's not mandatory. It's also not a free-for-all. This is not a day where you just go ham and eat whatever you want. Again, no pun intended. And eat whatever you guys want. For our cheat meal, I would say that if you're going to include a cheat meal, use it on your untracked day. That way you can kind of combine those 2 things. I recommend that you take only 150% of your daily caloric goal and keep your cheat day or cheat meal within the realms of percentage. Still hit your protein goal, as most people don't take their cheat meals on protein. We typically increase our carbs and our fats for those days. Alcohol. You guys are allowed 2 alcoholic beverage drinks per week. Now this is 2 serving sizes, so 12 ounces of beer, 1 shot, 1 serving size of alcohol, not a massive beer and counting it as 1 drink. Just a reminder for this, if you can, try your best not to drink at all for these 9 weeks. Alcohol is not a necessity in life. It is empty calories. For comparison purposes, alcohol is 7 calories per every gram. When we look at the foods in comparison to that, fat is 9 calories per gram, carbs is 4 calories per gram, and protein is 4 calories per gram. So alcohol, although it's a drink, it is highly up there in terms of the calories per gram of alcohol. It's also a toxin. As soon as we drink an alcoholic beverage, as soon as that toxin hits our body, everything else stops. We stop digesting food, we stop synthesizing protein, we stop impairing muscle for growth. It also alters our hormone levels, it spikes cortisol, and it decreases our metabolism. All of these things are negative to the reason why you started this challenge in the first place. So I really recommend that you just stop drinking for the 9 weeks, but if necessary, you are allowed 2 alcoholic drinks per week. Tracking. If you eat your meal plans, so if I give you your plan, you eat everything that's on that and you don't deviate from that plan, this is super easy. You don't have to track anything at all. You can simply take that meal plan, add it into your log for the day, and you're done. I do, however, recommend if you do add or subtract anything from there, don't do it inside the meal plan. Do all of those exchanges and tracking inside your journal. This is going to make sure that you guys can see all of the habits that you typically do, taking things out, exchanging things in, adding things, how that affects our general plan, and how it affects where you are currently at in terms of your progress. Progress pictures. This is optional for you. I do recommend that you take a progress picture at least once a week, if not every day. We can put these in a folder where you don't see them. You don't have to send them to me if you don't want to, but it is a massive eye-opener when you take a look at where you started on week 1 and where you are at after week 9 and actually see those images of yourself. It's completely eye-opening. It takes forever for us to notice the difference in ourselves because we are so nitpicky to everything about us. So just make sure that you take those pictures, store them away, and then we can look at the end of the challenge of what they look like. Workouts. Don't track your workouts and subtract the calories out of your meal plans. I'm taking into consideration that you're working out at least 4 times a week when I build your meal plans. So it's not simply a day where you burn 500 calories, now you get to add 500 more calories into your diet for that day. It doesn't work like that. Our bodies are constantly burning calories, doing a lot of things that we don't see on the inside. All of those things are your basal metabolic rate, how much your body actually needs to eat in order to survive, your total daily energy expenditure, or when you're getting up, moving, walking around, even fidgeting. Those types of things burn calories. The thermal effect of food, anytime you eat food, your body depletes calories and depletes energy just by breaking down that food and digesting it. For instance, eating a steak, it's going to take a lot longer to digest that than eating a peach. All of that stuff is extremely important, and I'm taking it into consideration when I'm building your meal plans. Now, when you're looking to lose body fat, you have to be eating in a deficit. Now, if I'm taking that deficit into consideration with your meal plan and you're further taking off calories, your body's not getting enough calories to do all of those listed things, the BMR, the TDEE, the TEF. So it's going to stop building muscle and it's going to stop burning fat because all of those things take precedent. So make sure that you're not taking too much or too many calories off because I'm already taking care of that for you. Meal plans and macros. The reason that I'm not a huge fan of people tracking their own macros is because we like to put things in. We like to slip foods in there like pizzas and ice cream because it fits within our daily macronutrients. Even though we should be focused on getting in good, solid, nutrient-dense food rather than caloric-dense food, which I'll show you in a second here. The other thing with following macros is we're not necessarily adhering to a specific eating time throughout the day. It's been proven that when you eat consistently throughout the day, our metabolism continues to run throughout the day, and we actually end up burning more calories through digestion. When you're not giving yourself those meals consistently, our thermal effect on food, the calories that we burn from that actually decrease. So when you're getting consistent food in, 27% of participants that did a study on eating at specific increments of the day or just getting their food in, eating a massive dinner or eating a massive breakfast, those who ate their calories spread throughout the day lost 27% more fat. So coming back to the calorie dense versus nutrient dense food, this is what happens for if it fits my macros people. They go to Starbucks, they grab a drink, they grab a morning bun, they grab a breakfast sandwich, and all of a sudden they're 1,450 calories into their day. Now they have to just simply sip on protein shakes or eat just vegetables throughout the rest of the day because they fit all of their macros into that first meal. For the people that are on meal plans on that right hand side, those that are following a 1,450 calorie diet with a meal plan, we can see how all of that food will last us throughout the day and we'd be able to stay relatively full as well. I thought a couple more examples were beneficial for this. So here's a burger and fry meal, a burrito and Coke meal, and then also just a last minute snack meal. If you plan your snacks ahead of time, you can have them spread throughout the day rather than just having one muffin at one simple point of the day. It's also going to spike your insulin and you're going to be hungry immediately after that. Brand names. So within your meal plans, I'm going to be pretty specific in some of the things that I want you guys to eat. If you're unfamiliar with the brand that's listed on your meal plan, I encourage you guys to Google it, look and see what the packaging information looks like, and that way you can have a good idea of what you're looking for in the store, whether it's a frozen food object item or whether it is a dry good item. We're not really sure. Look it up first, and then you'll have a good idea of what you're looking for. If worse comes to worse, you get to the store and you can't find that specific brand, just look at the macros. Look at, let's say it's pasta. Look and see what the main macronutrient is. So if we look at the back of the noodles, it says 20 grams of protein and 30 grams of carbs. You need to look for a noodle that has very similar macros to it. If it's a black bean noodle, look for another source of bean type noodle, which is going to be more high in protein. Get as close as you can and just call it a day. If there's a little variance, it's fine. You tried. I don't want you searching at 5 different stores to try to find the exact brand. Just get as close as you can. How to track. It's super simple and straightforward if you're following your meal plans. Like I said, take that meal plan, you add the entire plan to your log, and then you just add and subtract anything within that log to make sure that it details what your day looked like. Weighing versus measuring, I'd like you to be as specific as possible in regards to ounces and grams rather than cups and tablespoons, as we can get a little carried away when it comes to measuring things with measuring cups. As you can see from this example, 1 scoop of protein, it can be within 15 grams difference, and then it also proves to be about 60 calorie difference as well. So if we do this throughout the day, that could be upwards of 1,000 extra calories just from measuring on measuring cups or tablespoons. Cheat meals. I talked about this once before. Try to stay within 150% of your daily caloric allowance. Get your protein in. And like I said, you're almost always going to be cheating with carbs or fats in that cheat meal. So maybe pull back on some of those prior to eating that meal. If you know you're going to have a high fat meal like burgers and fries, maybe pull that full egg out of your breakfast and just eat egg whites. Just be smart in that component, even though this is a cheat meal or an untracked meal. Drinks and condiments. This is an important one. So as you guys are getting hungry, if you're feeling hungry, having non-calorie or low-calorie beverages, not alcoholic, is really helpful to kind of curb that hunger feeling. It gives you something to drink throughout in between your meals as well. Condiments that are low in calorie can help food taste a little bit better. Mustard is a great example. Vinegar is a really good example as well for any salads. Making your own salsa or going to the store and buying store-bought salsa that's just vegetables, that's all good to go as well. Using spices and herbs, definitely recommended. Just make sure that the spices that have added things in them don't have added sugar. Fruits and veggies, vegetables, you are free to snack on whatever vegetables and however many vegetables you want throughout the first half of this challenge. If it's starting to become a problem, I'll kind of nip it in the bud and come week 4 or week 5 and tell us to kind of hold off on that. Fruits, on the other hand, because they are higher in fructose sugar, I do recommend that if they're not on your plan, please do not eat them. Some things that you may feel going from eating whatever you want into having a more strict, structured schedule. Cravings. I always tell people the things that you crave first are probably the reasons why you join this challenge. If you overeat fat, you're going to crave fat. If you overeat sugar, you're going to crave sugar. So really try your best just to give it up, let it sit for a week or 2 weeks, and those cravings will start to subside. Feeling full or hungry, almost always when I give people their meal plans, they think that it's a lot of food in comparison to what we normally eat. We're brainwashed into thinking that eating less is going to help with fat loss. That's not necessarily true. As you now know, there's a lot of different things that your body has to do with the food that we're putting in it consistently. So make sure that you're getting in enough food. If it's too much to eat at one period of time, just break up that food into smaller pieces. Break up the meal into 2 different meals. So you can have 2 different breakfasts. Breakfast 1, wait 30 minutes, have breakfast 2, and that should help with getting your food in. If you're feeling hungry, sometimes that's just your body getting used to being on a deficit or having a different diet than what you typically have. Give it a week. If that hunger doesn't subside, let me know and we can make some alterations. Feeling backed up. So sometimes when people add more fiber into their diet, they're going to have a little bit of trouble with things. It is not TMI for me, so please let me know if you are having trouble going to the bathroom, or on the other hand, if you're going to the bathroom too much. I need to know these things so I can help kind of break up the fiber throughout the day so we can make sure that your body has time to digest it. If this is you, just make sure that you're getting in your water, as that will help digest the fiber that we're intaking. Feeling dizzy, getting a headache, feeling angry, these are all things that happen quite often when people move to a more strict nutrition plan. Some of the steps that you can take for these 3 things. First, track your water. Make sure that you're getting water in, because you could technically be dehydrated. Step number 2, once you're getting water in, increase your salt. If you're drinking enough water and if you're working out, sodium does not matter. Again, we're brainwashed into thinking sodium is not a good thing, but just make sure that you are getting it in, because it helps with the electrolytes that are in our body for energy and also for general well-being. Once you're getting in water, once you're getting in salt, our 3rd step is maybe adding in a little bit of sugar here or there, because you could be running through a sugar detox. So have a handful of berries, keep it at 1 handful, don't eat any more than that, or you can simply have some tea and add a little bit of honey. There's so much information coming at us from all different angles all the times, and how to be skinny, how to lose fat, how to lose 20 pounds in 20 days, all of these certain things that technically don't keep your well-being on the forefront, which is what this nutrition plan is fully about. We want you to be able to take everything you learn and be able to implement it after this challenge without feeling deprived and without being super strict on things. First of all, eating after 8. We don't have to stop eating at 8 o'clock. Your body doesn't know what time it is. Just make sure that we are simply breaking all those meals apart equally throughout the day and getting in all of your food. I'm going to be going over something called a pyramid of accountability in one of these later seminars, where we'll talk about making sure you're getting in the right amount of food, the proper balance, the proper structure. Then we can think about adding novelty or complexity in, but never beforehand. This brings up the topic of bad foods. No food is inherently good or bad. You just have to make sure that we're eating them in moderation. Carbs. This is the first one I always hear everybody say. Carbs are bad. Carbs are actually the thing that helps us gain muscle mass, build tone, lean muscle, and also lose body fat. If we're not getting carbs in, our body becomes catabolic. So that means it actually will start to eat away muscle mass in order to get energy. We need carbs. They fuel everything that we do inside and outside the gym. Dairy. Sometimes dairy has a bad name because it doesn't sit well with people, which is totally understandable. If that's you, just let me know and we can pull all of the dairy out of your meal plans. But if you can stomach it, pun intended, if you can stomach it, it is a great source of protein and a great source of healthy fat within your diet. Oils, adding in things like coconut oil, olive oil, avocado oil, all of these things are very, very healthy for us. They give us great fat and they help with brain function. Things that you want to avoid: sunflower, safflower, and soy, canola, cottonseed, and corn. So those 6 things in the liquid state are not necessarily good for us. They actually will start to eat away brain tissue if eaten consistently for a long period of time. Typically, restaurants use those types of oils because they are the cheapest to be found. Fats, good fat, like I said, that is going to be great for brain activity. It also helps with satiety of your food. It makes your food taste better. Now, why are we doing this? Why do I stand behind meal plans so strongly? It's simply because every single body is different. Some bodies thrive on protein, some carbs, some fat. We all differ. We all were built differently. We all were raised differently on different foods. So, with these meal plans, we can be as specific as possible to each and every individual as we customize their meal plans. Everyone thrives on a specific energy balance. So, if you are feeling these things like headaches or anger consistently, once we start getting in the right nutrients and those things can subside, you'll feel so much better in your daily life and in your workouts. It's much easier to have a plan rather than to just fly by the seat of your pants and eat whatever is in the fridge, because that's only a recipe for disaster. Once you have a specific goal, you need a plan to be specific. Measuring is the only specific way that we can eat. Eyeballing doesn't work. That would just be like going to the gym and trying a couple different exercises and hoping that it works for you. It's not going to work in the long grand scheme of things. I've said this once before, the things you struggle with are the reason why you are at where you're at. With a plan coming from someone else, you're not going to deviate to your old habits. You have to follow that plan. The more balanced your nutrition, the more sustainable your nutrition will be as well. So make sure that you guys are following these plans. Keep going strong for these 9 weeks. We are all in this together. We are all in this as a group, and we're going to all build good, solid nutrition habits to support the work that we're doing in the gym. Good luck.